Welcome to US Tzu Chi 360, I'm Neil Sokant. Today we visit a group of young activists called Pick Up America. Pick Up America is the nation's first coast-to-coast roadside litter pickup. Their mission is to pick up trash and educate and encourage people to transition towards zero waste. Two idealistic college students, Jeff Chen and Debbie Ragnar, started this odyssey 3 years ago, picking up trash on the road, but also friends and supporters. They wanted to make a public statement against consumption in America. That's why I'm in Brooklyn College to meet with Professor Kenneth Gould, who has been trying to understand, as a sociologist, the main changes of the environment in the US of the past decades. Let's go meet him. Hi, Professor Gould. Thank you so much for having us here.
Glad to have you here.
So, Professor, the USA, do we have to say it again, is the country that wastes the most. Out of many dramatic facts is that every year Americans throw away enough paper, plastic cups and plastic forks and knives to circle the equator 300 times. Why is that?
Americans value convenience. They're not used to being told what to do, what they can and can't do. When you say, well, they shouldn't use this, or they shouldn't use that, or they shouldn't waste so much, we're also a very time-stressed country. Americans work longer hours than most other Western industrialized nations. We have no child care infrastructure built into the country. One of the ways they deal with these time pressures is with the convenience of disposable products and fast foods and microwavable foods and all of these things that generate a lot of waste.
Let's go meet Pick Up America and see how, after many months of hardship, the pickup artists are on their third and last year.
Tonight, meet two young men who really took that lesson to heart. They're cleaning up the mess left behind by total strangers and making America a little nicer along the way.
Tonight we have a story about some young people who don't just look the other way when they see a water bottle or a fast food wrapper on the side of the road. Instead, they pick it up, and in fact, picking it up is why they are on a cross-country trip.
For 3 years, we've been traveling across the country picking up roadside litter to promote cultural sustainability, a zero-waste future for America.
I'm inventing science for your heart.
Had it for about 3 years, and this is 2012 now.
I'd say 80% of people we talk to, well, why would you do that? That sounds like a big waste of time.
I don't know, I can see how people, think we're just like a bunch of hippies doing this random thing across the country. And
they don't really understand why we would make that personal sacrifice.
The reason we're different would be because we're wholehearted, and we go into things just like so inspired and on fire.
You have to do ridiculous things sometimes to capture the attention of modern day zombies.
And the biggest difference between this year and last year with Pick Up America is that we've had more pickup artists on the road with us.
It was just hard to stay organized, really, with so many people on the team.
So this is the very beginning. This is the very first day, March 2010. I think I lost some weight. You both lost some weight. 4 of us in 2010. 6 of us in 2011. And then there's 8 of us full-time on the team this year. And we've come a long way. We started off living with 4 people living in a minivan. It was my dad's minivan too. And now we're 9 people living in a 35-foot-long bus. And it's got 6 bunks in it.
I was looking at 2 years on the road picking up trash, and I'm saying, can I do a 3rd year? And I looked at what our route was. Of course I could do another year. All of these places are amazing. I can't wait to see the West.
And so this year we've picked up trash between Colorado and California, one straight route from the Rocky Mountains to the Pacific Ocean.
You all see what this is? A fire. While we were in Colorado this year, they had a very, very, very big fire. It was the largest fire in the history of Colorado, actually.
We actually walked through a wildfire. This is a day after it had burned. We were in Colorado, this place called Last Chance, Colorado. And it was crazy. We saw all this burning plastic that was still smoldering, so it was really smelly. And we had to cover up our faces, and our entire bodies were covered in black soot after we walked through there.
When we got into the Rockies and everybody felt better about moving along.
We really feel defeated sometimes. So for me, getting back to the wilderness areas are amazing.
Look at that. This is one of the best days on this trip. We crossed the Rockies, and we got to enjoy this really, really beautiful view.
There's something about the red rocks and the red canyons that are just so amazing.
There was this awesome day. Davey and I did a hike on the Colorado Trail, and so we hiked for, I think it was like 11 miles. It was way longer than I'd ever hiked.
I can't tell you how many times I started crying and like wanting to turn around, but for some reason I kept going, you know, and I kept climbing up this mountain, and you know, I really just kept pushing myself and pushing and pushing, and
that I really, you know, got to see all there is to preserve in this country, and I really got to feel a rush of the openness that exists in our world. We were walking down after hiking our first 13,000-foot peak called James Peak, and we're hiking down. This surge of energy just comes up through my body from the ground and like paralyzed me, and I fell down, and my organs feel a little weird, but I'm still alive. And I turned around, and Jane and Rachel started like crawling down the mountain like, oh, we got hit by lightning, oh my God, like what are we gonna do?
You know, we spend so much time in front of computers, and we spend so little time outside experiencing nature. We've totally lost touch with what happens in the natural world.
And so we started off 2012 by trying to pick up America's first bottle brick bench.
A bottle brick is stuffed with all of the trash and all of the waste that is unrecyclable, unreusable. And then today we're actually cobbing the entire bench.
But we're actually going to take this and turn it into a bench. You just basically put in plastic filmy trash, much as what you see behind here, and you stuff it into bottles. Because we can divert all of this stuff from the landfill and make productive use out of it by making benches. In South America, they're making homes out of these. They're making schools.
How far are we really going to build?
I don't think we really realized how labor-intensive they were.
We had everybody in our camp just working their tails off for 2 weeks to pull off this amazing feat. And I think that was, you know, the beginning of the magic of 2012.
All for one and one for trash.
All for one and one for trash.
I just remember the feeling of just being in the desert, you know. It's just like this amazing feeling of nothingness. You can just be yourself.
You know, 5 national parks, but every step between the national parks was these, you know, giant orange rocks and just this completely alien landscape.
All of these places are some of the most beautiful vistas in America.
Arches, Canyonlands, Bryce, and Zion, all on the same road. So yeah, Utah is awesome. Utah rocks is what they say about themselves.
But we all made it to the top, which was really beautiful. We all did this hike together in Zion.
you know, if I could do that, I could do anything.
It's raining, we're cold, we put trash bags on to keep the rain off of us. And
we were finding trash from probably like the 70s.
They're incredibly beautiful places that are just covered in trash and plastic bottles and aluminum cans. And
we felt bonded together.
Us just being in the bus together and face jamming, as we now call it, where we spend all of our time together.
And that was one of my favorite times of the whole year because we would be huddled around the fire outside the bus. We weren't plugged in. We were just living on the side of the road. And it was really unifying. And I think Pick Up America is most at peace when we're as far separated from the dominant culture as possible.
We drove to a little town called Rachel, Nevada, which is the town closest to Area 51, and started cleaning up extraterrestrial highway. And while we were there, we met all these really wild conspiracy theorists who lived in the town. And
it was just this really awesome, eerie town.
We learned the correct way to say it. It's Nevada, not Nevada.
We like to do these outrageous things too. So we built a 20-foot tall unicorn out of plastic bags, or plastic bottles.
And this was in Las Vegas, and we did this to, connect the dots between a warming climate, there being less snow in our mountains, and then drying water supplies.
It's very strange to go to somewhere so full of consumption to make a statement against consumption.
It took like half an hour to produce the 7,000 water bottles in one casino, to build our Trojan horse from.
On Monday, we arrived in Las Vegas, and then on Friday, we displayed our the unicorn for everyone to see.
That this plastic bottle is like the Trojan horse of our society, that we're welcoming in climate change and we're welcoming in these terrible things happening to our environment. And it was a really beautiful, beautiful occasion.
The whole reason why they are dedicating their life to Pick Up America is for something called zero waste. Professor, can you please explain us what would zero waste look like?
The idea of zero waste is that everything that is manufactured, everything that's produced and consumed and used would have to be recycled and remanufactured with nearly 100% efficiency. Everything that we have around us is waste. Everything we use, everything in your room, everything in your car, everything we produce is eventually waste. The only way to have really zero waste or zero waste economy is have everything really manufactured out of organic materials that are naturally biodegradable and broken down and recycled by natural processes. But that's not the kind of society or the material culture we have in the United States.
Well, let's go jump again on their bus as they arrive to San Francisco.
Does that look familiar? Because it's from your own state. This is the Central Valley. Oh man, it was so dirty. Not every day it looks like this, but on this particular day we probably only went 3 or 4 miles because it was so dirty.
You get out of the Sierra Nevadas and go down into the Central Valley, then it got a lot thicker.
Out of the woods and into the suburban sprawl of the Bay Area.
We were in Oakland for what would amount to be my second to last day picking up trash on Pick Up America. We were standing out to them and they said, what are y'all doing in here? White people picking up trash in our neighborhood, you shouldn't be here. So I just sort of shrug it off.
The best things about picking up trash on the side of the road is the different things that you can find. Sometimes it's just really interesting to see what people throw out the window. It gives you an idea of what kind of stuff we use and throw out that we don't really even need. You get them from McDonald's, drink your cup, and there it goes. It's done.
There's a devil in these streets, and it lives in the crack cocaine, it lives in the liquor. And so, of course, people are going to throw their stuff on the ground.
I just found that. It's a drug baggie.
Drug bag. There's a lot of prostitution in these streets.
Prostitution in the streets, drugs and prostitution in the streets.
Getting the pictures? Right.
This is pretty dirty, to be honest. I looked down the road right after our 2 groups had converged, and the street sweeper had just come and dropped trash all over the middle of the road. A man came out from his house, is immediately like, you're in a black neighborhood, what are you doing here? We are here picking up trash, and we saw a huge amount of garbage here from the street sweeper. So it was kind of frustrating to, have what would have been this momentous occasion, sort of be scarred by this experience of somebody getting so angry at us for picking up trash.
Get that camera.
Right,
now.
So my vision of trash has drastically changed since starting Pick Up America. It's not just something we throw away. It's something that remains forever.
I'm not mad at people who litter. I'm not mad at the trash. It's just something that I do to be in service. She's so smart.
I have an intimate relationship with litter. It's interesting because it's an inanimate object. It's just something that exists in our society that doesn't have to be there, I don't think.
just the fact when we walked through places with more people, the trash would increase exponentially.
Yeah, I hate trash. We know how to grow cellulose and mycelium and all these things, so we don't need plastics made from, you know, ancient oils. It's like ignoring our future.
I like the service of picking up trash, but I'm disheartened and annoyed at the sources of trash.
Disbelief in humanity and just like disgust, really. Like, what have we done? Why haven't we learned?
It can be really emotional to see the devastation that is being caused.
And also just a little bit saddened by the fact that people think this is okay.
You know, at least this amount of trash right here in this pile that I'm picking up right now, that's not going to be there anymore.
You walk 30 feet down the road and there's another one.
It's there, and it sucks that it's there. You know, that means that there's a major lapse in education of people. And
I always think to myself that litter pickup is a complete waste of time unless we do education programs. You know, the litter isn't the real issue. Education is the real issue. We learn from the past and can re-innovate the future.
所以我们当初整个环保就是用这个Pick Up America 当做我们的教，偶尔带孩子去做环保。但如果以这样跟孩子比较接近的年龄，又是在美国这样一个 culture， 它就是一个 role model。那我们有400个学生，这学生跟老师都知道他们的故事。
And, you know, we had such a great time talking to their students.
So 100 tons of litter we picked up with our hands walking across the map. Hurricane Sandy, right? So we had one of the biggest storms the East Coast has ever seen. New York was underwater last week. Sea temperatures in the Atlantic Ocean were 5 degrees higher than historical average. That sort of bakes and cooks up these huge hurricanes.
It was really heartwarming to me that they had learned about us and we were on their curriculum, and then we came and we were real people.
我们的孩子上个礼拜问老师说：“真的吗？你确定这个大哥哥大姐姐会来吗？”
It's our house.
There's a bathroom.
Like,
I don't want to get off this bus.
So cracked up.
I live here. Yeah, I will live here. Like, this is...
Ew, what's that smell?
The side of the road.
It smells sticky.
Yeah.
Those kids were so inspiring to me. They were really cute, but they were also like very eager to learn, and they were very down with what we were doing, which was awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Y'all are so great.
You all, this is like the, maybe the 3rd biggest volunteer day we've ever had.
We're gonna go out and take the streets of San Francisco by storm. We're gonna be in pretty big groups.
So we're picking up with Tzu Chi right now, and we're going all the way across San Francisco in one day. So I think it's like a total of 7 miles.
Did we find anything neat?
You found money.
I found money, right. $6. But I'm really happy that we had this giant outpouring of like support and all the people here today. It feels really great. Like,
And we're mobbing out with like 80 Tzu Chi volunteers. This is my team.
what's our group name?
So the idea that we have, or that we're trying to promote as the solution to all of these environmental problems, this is the idea of zero waste.
Zero waste means preventing waste, reducing and reusing first, then recycling and composting, so that no material goes to the landfill or incineration.
That they have 10 to 20 times more jobs just by having a zero waste way of dealing with our trash.
It's in its slow phases right now, but I think we are going to hit a tipping point.
But if you really think about it, zero waste is nature. Zero waste is the way that everyone else conducts their business except human beings.
I am sitting in front of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and if you ask me if zero waste is possible, I will tell you hell yes, because San Francisco is doing it.
San Francisco now composts over 600 tons a day. San Francisco recycles over 800 tons a day, allowing San Francisco to achieve its lowest disposal rate on record. In fact, we are aiming for zero waste by 2020.
Yeah. Go out there and do something great for your community. We all can do it. Yeah.
That's where we come in through the education to help teach them that this isn't right and that this doesn't just go away. And just because it's out of sight does not mean that it's out of mind.
We're sort of ushering the social change of our time.
But now I kind of see Pick Up America as part of a lot of different social movements that are happening.
The people that I know in Charleston, West Virginia still talk about Pick Up America. That was 2.5 years ago.
Over 15,000 students that we've talked to start going out into the professional world and making their difference. And
Well, Tzu Chi had shown our documentary to all these students in their schools, and so we were sort of like mini celebrities. It's really cool to be an inspiration.
And to know that people really do appreciate what we've done.
By, walking our talk, we showed people that there's so much waste and trash in our society that's unnecessary.
A signature?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes!
And they wanted autographs, and they wanted pictures with us, and I posed with so many people for pictures.
I sign these autographs, and I go along and play the role because I feel like that's what's going to inspire these people.
Because I'm a trash picker.
I felt like a small minor celebrity, and it was pretty cool,
So adorable. Oh my gosh.
That's great. Awesome. It's not about me, it's about this act, and it's about this message. Pick him up!
Probably signed like 30 or 40 autographs altogether, which is crazy.
Our mission is to be the nation's first coast-to-coast litter pickup. We almost did it. We're going to make it. Our youth-inspired initiative encourages environmental stewardship and zero waste through art, education, and community outreach.
This year, they focused more on education, art, and community. As Jeff says, picking up trash has no sense if you don't do the education part. As a professor, can you please explain how can education play a greater role, not only in picking up America, but changing America?
Things you can do with education is allow people to understand how the choices they make affect the environment and how the choices made by power holders affect the environment. But education alone can't make all of the difference. I would love to drive a solar-powered car. That's not an option that's available to me on the market, so I won't be doing that. I would love to purchase nothing but zero-waste products. But there are no zero-waste products for me to purchase, and so that's something that producers have to make available. And the way producers will make that available is probably not solely through the market, but will require some state intervention. And state intervention in the market is not something that Americans particularly like.
Do you think small initiatives like Pick Up America and others can make a change in this country?
I think the value of projects like that is consciousness raising. It puts issues on the agenda and makes people aware of their consumption and their waste and their disposal habits. But for that awareness to make social change requires people to organize collectively, to demand that states and corporations make the changes necessary so that we have a more environmentally sound material culture.
That was really nice of you having us here in Brooklyn College.
Yeah, it's terrific to have you here in Brooklyn.
Thank you. And stay tuned up next week as we will see again the young activist of Pick Up America. I'm Neil Second, and I'll see you soon.
Pick it up trash, we're on a mission to pick up trash.